Hello, thank you very much for tuning in. It's Stuart, classical record collector. I also sell classical records from my website, lpclassical.co.uk. And I'm going to be talking about kind of home listening versus concert hall and, you know, the sort of pros and cons of both. But I'm going to be telling a sort of amusing anecdote which will illustrate why sometimes home listening really is a smarter choice. But first of all, as promised, I'm going to start these videos off by talking about a record briefly. Some of my favorite performances. My favorite performance of the four Mozart horn concertos is actually this one, Barry Tuckwell playing and Marg conducting from the 60s. This is an Ace of Diamonds reissue of the SXL, and I just think that overall, if you consider the sound quality that Decca achieved, particularly on the horn, it's so well defined, and the orchestra has really got bite, and all the drama's there, the clarity. It's really superbly engineered sound, and it's come out very well on this Ace of Diamonds. Plus the quality of the performance. Marg was an absolutely superb Mozart conductor, and Tuckwell, great horn player. So yeah, that would be my recommendation if you want to go for four horn concertos. I put that ahead of Dennis Brain. I suppose partly because the Dennis Brain is a 50s mono recording, but well, I suppose that's a classic too. But maybe have two, the Brain and the Tuckwell. Okay, so yeah, home listening. What's brought this on is that a friend of mine went to a concert last night in Edinburgh at Usher Hall. So I've never been there myself. I believe that it's a very good concert hall and the acoustics, by all accounts, are excellent. The concert, I think, it was either the Royal National Scottish Orchestra or the BBC Symphony Orchestra, and I'm not too sure on the soloist, but the program was as follows: Copland, Fanfare for the Common Man, Chopin Piano Concerto No. 2, and Dvorak New World Symphony. Great program, absolutely fabulous program, and it's a kind of concert that should really more or less sell out. Popular program. I'm very conservative in my musical tastes. I don't mind a contemporary piece being put into an otherwise fairly traditional program. Like, for example, they had the Copland here. That's fairly well known. That's part of the standard repertoire now, Fanfare for the Common Man. But if they decided to put in a piece by, say, a Scottish composer, say 8 to 10 minutes, a new piece, newly commissioned piece, I'd have no issue with that. That would be fine. But I tend to go for, if I'm going to a concert, I want to hear something that I know is going to be good. And, Dvorak's Ninth Symphony, the New World Symphony, is one of the great works. I remember when I first heard it, actually, back in the 80s, when I was just getting into classical music. I actually heard it on the radio. I didn't know what it was, but it was such a powerful piece of music. When I was listening to it, I knew straight away this is an established classical piece. This is something which is in the musical firmament. And obviously, then at the end, they said it's Dvorak's New World Symphony. I read up on it, and it's one of the great symphonies in the repertoire. It didn't surprise me at all. So, yeah, great program. There's just one problem. One problem. So for this friend, he messaged me last night and said it was really good quality performance, etc. Fabulous music, except for one problem. There was a member of the audience sat 2 rows in front who was every minute or 2 minutes blowing a raspberry, quite loud. Now, I understand that at Usher Hall, it's like Birmingham Symphony Hall, you can almost hear a pin drop from one side of the hall to the other. The acoustics are that precise. And he said to me, my friend, that, it could be heard. And he was also doing it during quiet passages, particularly in the second movement of the New World Symphony. And it seems that on the last note, just after, the last note of the New World Symphony, you've got these loud chords, and then it's like an oboe or, a wind instrument sort of fades down. That when that faded down, he blew a raspberry before the conductor put his baton down and before people applauded. Well, it sounds comical, doesn't it? But look, if you've paid £40, £50 for a ticket, and classical music is a serious business, let's face it. I mean, we go there because we absolutely love the sound, but beyond that, there's a kind of almost sort of spiritual dimension. I don't like using the word spiritual because, I'm an atheist and, um, quite a materialist actually. I don't really believe there's anything beyond the material world, but you know what I mean when I say spiritual. Gives you that sort of uplifting feeling. It's it is really quite a deep experience to listen to great music like that. And if you've got some clown there blowing raspberries, it does kind of put the dampeners on things. So um, I think that I did a bit of investigating on this because I thought, how could that be? How could okay, it's Usher Hall. Where was the usherette? Where was the usherette going in and saying, excuse me, you can't do that? Well, I found out that in Usher Hall, there are seats reserved for people with disabled people, which is fair enough. I'm all for inclusivity, and there are also other seats in that area, I believe, for people with learning difficulties. Okay, I'm all for inclusivity, but I think that inclusivity is all right as long as it doesn't ruin it for everybody else. So if there's somebody with learning difficulties who's blowing raspberries throughout a concert, really that person shouldn't be there. I think that probably they should be somewhere else. Maybe home listening is for them. So I think inclusivity, you have got to still maintain certain standards. Otherwise, what's the point? Because there were people there who their evenings were ruined. It would ruin it for me utterly, and if I'd been there, I would have done something about it. I'm not somebody to go into a business environment or where I've paid money. If I don't get proper service, if I don't get value for money, I won't sit and suffer. I'll do something about it. So if it was me, I probably would have gone, when I realized this was going to be long term, I probably would have got up and I would have gone to a member of staff and said, excuse me, somebody is sitting there blowing raspberries and ruining it for me. I'm either going to be wanting a refund if you don't do something about this, or can you please correct this situation because I'm not happy and other people are just bearing it. They're not happy either. So I would have dealt with it like that. And it's quite possible they would have said to me, well, it's inclusivity and, he's got learning difficulties, autism or whatever, Asperger's, I don't know. Or maybe just a weird sense of humor and no learning disability. I don't know, but nobody should be doing that in a concert that people have paid all that money to hear. So if they'd said, "Oh, we can't do anything about it," I would have said, "Right, okay, I'm leaving. I want a refund. You can't do anything. You can't do anything about it. I don't expect to tolerate that. So I want my money back." I would have done that. What would you have done then? So I'm just trying to think back in all the years I've been going to concerts, stretching back, say, to the mid 80s, whether anything remotely like that happened. I think the only thing that came close is that in Nottingham at the Royal Concert Hall, um, the St. Petersburg Ballet used to come every year. And when I was married, me and my wife, with her being Russian, she wanted to watch the St. Petersburg Ballet and she knew somebody who was in that company. So we used to go, and actually they were really good. I mean, obviously they weren't like absolute utter top level like Bolshoi or Kirov Mariinsky company, but they weren't far off. They were mainly ballet dancers who couldn't quite get into that elite squad, but they were really good, and they were probably, as good as anything you would see in the UK, more or less, including the Royal Ballet. I mean, they were really, you know, you expect Russians to do ballet well, and they do. So I think we went to see Swan Lake or the Nutcracker. I don't know what it was, but we went in, and we left our coats in the cloakroom. Our attire was suitable for the performance. I think I was wearing a suit. My wife was wearing a nice dress or something like that. And we sat down And we immediately noticed that a lot of people were, okay, they were sat in their coats. That's fair enough. I mean, I've got nothing against that. I've done that. I've been into concert halls, and I've sometimes worn my coat into a concert hall. I've got no problem with that at all. What I did have a problem, though, with is people sitting there with great big bags of popcorn, munching their way through and rustling the wrappers, sweetie wrappers and everything all the way through it. You don't expect to get that when you've paid 35, 40 pounds on a ballet ticket. You don't expect to have that kind of disruption. I know I'm going to sound like a real snob now, and people are going to say, "Oh, Stuart, don't be a spoil sport." Yeah, you should stay home. If you can't put up with people rustling sweetie wrappers and blowing raspberries in concerts, you should stay home. You killjoy. Okay, fair enough, if that's your point of view. And my wife said, this is appalling. I can't believe. She said in Russia this would never happen. Ballet's a really serious business, and the people that go to watch ballet, they're connoisseurs, etc., etc. And I'm a bit of a snob like that with classical music, ballet, opera. I mean, for me, it's like la creme de la creme of all art, and it is a serious business. I don't laugh. I mean, I laugh at comedians. I don't laugh, and I don't party in a classical concert or even at home if I'm listening. It is a serious business. So yeah, I actually contacted the manager of the Royal Concert Hall just to ask whether it was, because we want to go next time, and is it going to be like that every time? And I suggested that maybe it wasn't appropriate for people to, be munching their way through buckets of popcorn. And I actually, in hindsight, that was I shouldn't have written that, because what he wrote back was actually quite correct. It was absolutely correct. He said, that is what people do. And they've been doing it. We've been doing ballets for years. And it's part of people's enjoyment. And that's how, that's just our customer base. And I thought, well, okay, I accept that. And consequently, tended to avoid going to see ballets at that particular concert hall if I knew that people were going in and treating it like a cinema, with buckets of popcorn and ice cream and everything and sweetie wrappers. Then, yeah, find another venue to go and watch opera. Sorry, opera, yeah, no, ballet. So yeah, I get that. Swan Lake is a popular ballet. Everybody wants to see it, and there's a wide range of audience. So look, I'm the kind of miserable killjoy that is better off sitting at home, listening to opera, listening to music, because nobody's going to rustle sweetie wrappers in my lounge. Nobody's going to blow raspberries on the final movement of Dvorak's Ninth Symphony. And nobody is going to ruin my enjoyment. The quality that I get from records is actually pretty good. I've also got the best performers, like from the 50s all the way to the 80s, some of the great conductors, etc., etc. Having said that, yes, I still do go to concerts. Not that often, maybe one concert every 2 months or something like that, because I mean the raspberry blower, I mean, that kind of thing is pretty rare. And the sweetie wrappers, I don't tend to go and see ballets these days, partly because I can't afford it. It's getting so expensive. So that's not really a problem. But I mean, most ballets I've been to have been okay. That thing in Nottingham with popcorn and sweetie wrappers, I mean, most ballets, people don't really do that. Maybe it's something about Nottingham. I don't know. So that's about it, really. But yeah, that raspberry blowing thing was absolutely incredible. I mean, I did have a bit of a chuckle about it. At first, I was sort of outraged. And then later on, when I imagined it, particularly with the conductor, finishing off the Dvorak's Ninth Symphony with that note that fades out so beautifully, and then somebody, blowing a raspberry before the conductor's put his baton down. I mean, um, I don't know. I mean, it sounds comical, but I can imagine that for the people that were there and had paid money, it did kind of ruin things a bit. Okay, well that's all, and I would really love to hear your stories. I mean, have you come across anything like that, anything remotely like that, or ruined enjoyment because of what somebody's done in a concert hall? And Yeah, well, thank goodness for home listening hi-fi records because, you can, it's really, I mean, the quality is really good on the whole. I know it's not the same as sitting in a concert hall, but, modern hi-fi can produce really high quality sound, which I enjoy a lot. That's all for now. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.